Yes, and you're welcome back. Well, if you've just tuned in, you may imagine that you've missed a lot, but not to worry. We are in familiar terrain, talking culture and tradition and how it impacts us as a people.
Yes, and our guest, Mr. Excel Adeleye, is still so very comfortable in his seat. Now, Excel, to my very first question on this segment. We have looked at what has been described as the demonizing of our culture and traditions. Now, the opposite will be sustaining our culture and traditions. So, what will this involve? Very, very briefly.
Okay, good one. I think that's a good one. I think first we need to first accept responsibility that we have lost it. And what you do, what you are lost is to look for it. We need to go back and look for. If I ask a question, when last did you go to the bookshop and buy books specifically on African culture or the culture of where you are from? And completely zero. So what you don't invest in, you're not expected to get result from or get profit from. So we need to accept responsibility for losing our culture, then we need to go and look for it. And for every also forum you found that and looking for it means that you want to go back to the basic, you want to go back to what makes you you. And that is very important. The second thing also as important that now when we now do that as individual, we will now begin to build system. We need to build system, to embrace that. In Ghana, one of the things that is making Ghana unique is Ghana is embracing their culture. And Ghana is winning lots of people, both the white, they are winning the black in the diaspora back to Ghana. You get it, and two, also they are winning the white to Ghana. You just want to be there, as well. So we also need to do that in Nigeria, for example. Then the third one I think is very important, and we now institutionalize that in our homes, in our home. You get it now. So for example, if you pray, which also, if you're a Christian or Muslim, can you pray in Yoruba? God hears you. It is not disenfranchising or is not monopolizing a particular language, and I mean, there's something like that. So you need to also teach how to pray in Yoruba, converse in Yoruba, make it a lifestyle, a daily one, as well. That is also important. And that's one of the things we need to start doing, let it show even our tires, let organization, banks, give some level of policy on how to wear your African print. I mean, a bank with a red color can create African prints in red color. Logos. We now begin to influence our logos, for example, and all that. This is where we need to go. So if we do that in the next 50, 100 years, Africa will be better for it.
Wow. Very practical.
Excel. I thought you were a spiritotherapist. Now you're proving to be more of a traditionalist to me. Well, thank you so much for that answer. Now, you see, my own concern is this. Now, given that culture and tradition are flexible, we've been told several times in the last couple of weeks.
Culture
at least,
is flexible.
that,
tradition is less flexible.
But they are both malleable.
To some extent, yeah.
How sustainable do you think they would be? Because they allow us to do a few things. I said before we went on the break that I hope you're not wearing a pair of socks with your traditional attire. And I hope that there are other things you are not wearing too because of the tradition. Now, how flexible can, how sustainable will it be if we allow it to be flexible?
I think humans are the creator of culture and tradition. Now, when the humans who created culture and tradition is flexible, then the other thing that comes from them, which is culture and tradition, will be flexible. So the question is more of, are people flexible, for example? Some people who are not flexible have become terrorists, and they have, in a way, rebranded their religion as a bad religion. So it's the people first that need to be flexible, and that is much easier. For example, anybody knows that I wear African trousers with a white British or American shirt. When you see it on me, you love it. I wear my blazer, with my African trousers, and you see it. You say this guy is stylish. I use my pocket handkerchief as a cultural one. You see, this is beautiful. So it is quite flexible. It is what you do with it, and people embrace that. And it is quite easy, for example, if we are teaching chemistry, for example, and you are teaching with pots and to use to formulate how you can do mixture in the lab. You know, the people or the student will get it more. So it is us first being flexible enough to embrace it. So if, for example, if somebody says Eledumare or he mentions Shogo in church, that is alien. Everybody will go gaga in that church because it's not flexible as well. So we need to start doing that. And it comes also from us embracing ourselves. We still have tribal differences that we don't embrace. And that is will make it more complex. You get it now? Now, so the problem now is not the tribe. It is the people that make the tribe. You get it now? So before we can go into that, we need to embrace ourselves. Some people in the East say that some people can't marry from this particular tribe, for example. You know, and you see some people, you see cases of crisis in the home because you don't come from my tribe. You know,
Okay.
so we need flexible person. But guess what? A white man will still come to Africa and is in love with an African man he wants to marry because he has limited or taken away these differences from within. So we first need to be flexible in our mind. I need to see Yoruba man as if I come from Makodi, for example, he's my brother. I mean, we're just same blood, you know, as it were, but we're just different in some level of tradition. So if we first begin to embrace ourselves in love,
Okay.
show some level of empathy,
Okay.
then it makes it more easy.
Excellent. Excellent. Excel.
I'm
Now,
used to that.
do we have strong enough structures to sustain, you know, these old traditions and cultures? Are there structures? For example, you know, I see a lot of things happen around that I think shouldn't be permitted in our greetings, in our sitting positions, in our standing positions, in our, you know, the authority, when we're before royalties and all of that. How strong are the structures that we have to sustain our traditions and our cultures?
Oh, I am disappointed to say, as we all know, that we don't have structures in place. And it's shame that even in our home, which is a small institution, we don't even have structures. And structure is what makes a good organization to last, to sustain itself.
Sure.
Structure is what makes a nation to sustain itself. As we speak, we all know the tradition in British, and for you to be an Englishman, and in the royal home, their tradition is very strong. As we say, I mean, they're about to bury the great man who passed away. Yeah. But guess what? You are going to see their tradition plays over even in the way they organize the burial. Already I read something about the way the two friends, they need to walk, Harry and the brother, and the way they need to match and what clothes they need to wear. So they embrace that reality because there's a structure. I mean, you have seen in several pictures how a royalty is greeting another royalty in their family is greeting the queen, and is kneeling down to greet the queen because it's a strong structure. And you also saw what has happened with Meghan leaving that because she can't fit into that structure, and that structure is not going to be from Meghan, who came from Canada or America, you know, because it's a structure. So what we need to now do is to build a new structure. You get this now? We need to build they need to be an institution that look into our culture, as you know. And if we are now beginning to form the constitution, constitution needs to emanate from the culture. But what you have done is to borrow from the Western man the constitution, and that is why it's not working for us, you know. So we need to first go within to say no, we don't have it. We now need to create a new foundation that comes from our culture. And if all of us put together from different tribe and different race as a Nigerian, then we're going to have a better Nigeria.
Now, honestly, I think I'm still a bit confused, you know, in the sense that, you know, as you were talking, my mind just wandered, you know, to some other areas. For instance, let me paint a scenario for you. Let's imagine that I'm a lawyer, for instance, right? I'm a lawyer. I'm invited to dinner somewhere. I get there, and I choose to eat with my fingers.
Yeah.
You know, yes, they serve me any of our,
and everything.
and our local food
Delicacies, yeah.
delicacy, and then I say that because I want to sustain the originality of my culture, at that corporate dinner, I will use my hands to eat. How does it, I think that we're having clashes, because simply because we've allowed certain things to come in. Yes.
Let me ask you a question. If Wole Soyinka, who has embraced his culture, is still wear the African attire, if he's in a meeting and he eats with his hand, do you think the people there will see him as an illiterate or embarrassing?
Wow.
Of course, no. No, I just took out somewhere. You know what? Because he has become an original person, that everything he does is intentional, and people accept his intentionality. Okay? So it is, and let me just get straight. A leader lead a part and create a new part. It's not necessarily accepted at the beginning, and that becomes to become a way of life. You get it? And that's why we're talking about tradition, which grows over time. So it is not a problem. It is you who you know what you're doing. You get it now? A guy told me yesterday, he says that Le Casera can open a rusted iron, and all that, a boat or something. And I was wondering for the first time, but I'm going to try it because there's a result in it. So who cares if tomorrow I say that this clothes I wear, it can make me fly? They're going to embrace it because it can result. So we need to become originality like Wole Soyinka, etc. like that. A lot of people have embarrassed Obasanjo in his behavior in some global meetings. But you know him, and you know him very well. He has no apology for showcasing his culture anywhere. And he's speaking that level. He's used that to do a lot of things. And he has he wears the clothes anywhere in any meeting. And everybody embraces it. That's why I say first, you need to, if you don't understand who you are, then all that thing will become a problem. So if Excel speaks here today, somebody come into my office and you see me you come into my office, you are coming to pay me for my level of expertise. And everything I do, is correct in that regard. So I think that is the answer to that question. However, we also need to know where we need to be flexible, okay? And we do so as needed.
Okay, now, in fact, I was going to come to that, Helen, because if we flip the coin, the other way, if we assume that the preference is to sustain the culture and tradition, shouldn't we have some worries about the level of acceptability, by, for instance, the new generation? Yeah. Because they're turning their backs. Our children are turning their backs.
When we're talking about culture, earlier this morning, I said, well, may his soul rest in peace. Baba Olushola?
Yes.
Yeah? And then he now mentions the Nobel laureates, Wole Soyinka. And we have a few of them who have deliberately,
Stuck
in your face to say to the world, this is who we are. Accept me or you don't. Yes. This is who I am. So, but the new generation, it's difficult to let them see and walk this path. I think that's your question.
That's what I'm saying.
Quickly,
do you have any worries about the level of acceptance?
Okay, so I get you now. The question is, how do we pass this to the next generation who have embraced the Western world and they are very strong about it? Yeah. I think that is a way. And it's very easy. Let me give you, for example, the award of a Grammy Award which was won by a Nigerian, the Nigerian singer. It's because the guy showed Afrobeat, Afrocentric culture in his music. You get it now, and he's now embracing it. Now, do you know what that means? That means that this young man is being followed by a lot of people, and he has millions of followers on Instagram. Indirectly, he's influencing them. And a lot of people are coming to know that singing like a Western person will not necessarily win you Grammy. Yeah. As we speak, the metaphor, or the growth I want to say of a Nigerian content as we've grown up, such that they're making more money right now, in it. So it's not from us. For example, my children knows in the way I dress, and everybody around me, I've seen them try to pick up. And let me give you an example. My daughter went ahead to make Ankara Jota. That's an influence. Yeah. Okay. Children pick what they see and it becomes their lifestyle. The question is, what are you doing as a leader or as a parent, to them? So they understand that. So when you begin to leave that, when we begin to wear the attire to do the shoot, the movie shoot, when we begin to use the attire to do the videos, when you begin to write in your dialect, your dialects and all that. They begin to take those steps. So they were embraced because they are followers. Followers
Well, I think,
naturally.
Yeah, that's the word.
follow.
yes, I think
That's the word.
what
Thank
we will
you.
do, what we will do is that our next program,
You want to have a part 2?
our next program will be conducted in what's your native language?
I have 2, Yoruba and Idoma.
Yoruba
So
and
I don't
Idoma.
know how we can fuse all of that together.
Anyway, I think that's how much we can take.
Yes, so,
on,
and it's so sad that we have to let
our
Excel
our
go.
spiritotherapist.
Excel, you are awesome. You're
Our
wonderful.
spiritotherapist turned
You know.
traditionalist,
Yes, and
almost
it's always
turned
a pleasure.
herbalist. Excel.
Always a pleasure having
Excel.
you at the other end. Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you so much,
input.
Excel.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Excel.
it. It's
Nice
Thank
seeing you again. Yes.
Okay. Well, time to take another break.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. Please don't go away.